This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And ye will hear of wars and threats of wars. And this is in the NLT, by the way, Salakia. And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yet these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Barakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, great millstone that rule well. And peace and blessing be multiplied on all you brethren out there teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there. I'm the brother Dama Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. All right, hey, and these times on this earth is getting crazy, man. It's getting crazier and crazier because we're living in the times of these major three prophecies getting ready to come to pass, which is, this third world's woe, the mark of the beast, Jacob's trouble, and basically the end of this man's rulership is all coming to a head. And we can see all the signs that are there, especially the time of Jacob's trouble is approaching quickly. And these devils know something major is about to happen, man. All right, I got two articles about to show you that these devils are preparing for something big. And you better believe, a lot of it is going to have to do with, sedition, which is, the people rising up against the government. You see them preparing for civil war, having this nation heavily divided, citizen against citizen, people against the people, rich against the poor, have versus the have-nots, Democrat versus the Republicans. And ultimately, America is just a powder keg of something, and one spark is going to cause the society to blow. And these elites, in the government are working hand in hand to make sure that these things happen. Like we've been telling you, Jake, out there, and all you people, hey, these elites, they are rage baiting you people. They're putting the squeeze on you people to react. They're putting the squeeze on you people to become more and more angrier. Like Klaus Schwab said, prepare for a more angrier world because they need you. They need you people angry. They need you people in the uproar. They need you people to get violent. And it seems Salaki as if their plan is working on the simple-minded. You seeing all these so-called black women and all these American citizens in an uproar over this ending the SNAP and EBT. 42 million Americans are about to be cut off of food stamps. And something I learned today, which I didn't know, which I should have known, there's a lot of people, man, that are in the military, that are working class people, that are heavily dependent upon these food stamps. So it's not just you got the so-called black woman, her stupid, retarded, ignorant ass. The main one showing her ass on social media saying what she's going to do and how she's going to steal, how she's going to rob. But don't get it twisted. You got a lot of these so-called white people, even though they're not online, in mass numbers saying it and thinking it, hey, they're in that same spirit as well. And it's going to eventually get to the point to where, a lot of people are going to be in the spirit of the so-called black woman, going to be in the spirit of, rebellion, in the spirit of sedition, in the spirit of crashing out. You see, because these elites are relying heavily upon chaos to ensue. And these devils are going to do everything in their power to push and to ensue chaos. And they know ultimately chaos is coming because that's part of their the agenda is to, use the pressure from below and pressure from above to put you people into a frenzy, to get you people into a spiral, to put the squeeze on you so hard that you're left with only one reaction, and that is to get violent, to get chaotic, to protest, and which is why you see the administration, Trump, they already having the insurrection in their back pocket. This is why they're, I believe through the, I'm speaking as a man, but I think it's through the spirit. They're allowing these ICE agents to get more reckless, more in your face, more, more disorderly. And like I said in previous videos, hey, the day is still coming to where somebody's going to put one of these ICE agents to death, or one of these ICE agents are going to be given the order to put one of these civilians to death, and all hell is going to break loose, man. All right. They're already talking, it might be a cyber attack, it might be a power outage, it might be a blackout, it might be, some type of event on top of events that's going to ultimately lead to violence and, people going crazy and people reacting in a way to where these elites are going to be justified and bringing in, bringing in martial law, to bringing in curfews, to, bringing in second Ezra's, the 15th chapter. Coming with that great insurrection and being justified in bringing the sword upon you American people, and ultimately be able to deem all of you people terrorists and bring in digital IDs so that, they can be able to identify who you are and not, see everybody as a threat and as an enemy and as the enemy from within. And these devils just setting the stage ultimately to, to come down with the sword and be justified in doing it, and bringing chaos and all type of hell so they can be justified in, coming in with this new world order, man. We see right through all the bullshit. But I want to show you these two articles showing you that these elites, they know that something big is coming. They know, that that these people are getting ready to react, whether it's, genuinely just, citizens pissed off and had enough and reacting, or we know they're going to put agent provocateurs in the mix, to benefit off of these protests and off of these riots and to do particular things to, be justified and, come in with the sword, man. So let me show you this first article, right? It says Pentagon readying thousands of guards, reaction forces as U.S. mission widens. You see? And this guy Trump is moving in the spirit of a dictator, man. He's basically setting the stage to have his own personal army, to come down upon you American people, man. You see, and like I said, a lot of this shit is being orchestrated. A lot of this stuff is psychological operations. A lot of this stuff, they're doing it, they're causing things to happen. And they're doing things purposely to piss you people off, man. The whole shit with the farmers, all these maggers, the MAGA farmers that voted for Trump and they're being shafted. You see, like I said, the shit with the EBT, you see the shit with the government shutdown, all of these mass layoffs, all these companies laying off all of these people, which we know that's going to eventually lead to UBI, but it's also, being used to anger the people, to frustrate you American citizens, to lose hope, to protest, to take it to the streets, to march. And they're going to be using these marches as a grounds for, like I said, T attacks, agent provocateurs, to get this thing set off right, and everything that they're doing is a snare and a trap to lead you people down martial law, all type of chaos, so they can be justified in bringing in digital IDs, bringing in the MOTB, and bringing, this new digital slave system. And they're going to allow so much fear and terror to happen that you people will eventually be willing to give up more of your rights to feel safe and secure, and which they'll be justified in bringing you into this dystopian digital slave system, man. So let's check this out. It says the Pentagon has ordered thousands of specialized National Guard. And again, who's to say? You got to be careful, because who's to say whether these National Guard troops are even American? A lot of these could be, foreign troops, NATO troops. A lot of these, they might bring in, a whole new, remember how they've been saying they're going to hire almost 100,000 new ICE agents, who have their face covered. They don't identify themselves. Ultimately, you don't know who the hell these people could be. They could be NATO troops, foreign troops. A lot of these migrants that crossed the border that didn't get deported, who's been hired as a personal a Gestapo for these elites. You see? We're just going to have to see how it all plays out, man. But at this point, hey, nothing is off the table. It says the Pentagon has ordered thousands of specialized National Guard personnel to complete civil unrest missing training over the next several months. Now, why the hell do you think they're doing this? Because they know that mass civil unrest is getting ready to come. And they know they're going to eventually be justified in coming down with the hammer, to coming in like a flood. And pretty soon they're going to start having military go door to door. They're going to start having massive checkpoints, martial law, cities locked down, curfews, and things of that nature. So they're already, getting these National Guard troops prepared for when these days come, and it's all signs of biblical prophecy, man. It's all signs that, hey, Babylon America is done. The return of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is done, and Babylon the Great is done. You see? But the question is, hey, what are you Jakes going to do? What type of spirit are you going to be in? How are you preparing for these things that are getting ready to take place? All right? And if your fear is not in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, if you haven't been getting yourself right with the Most High, you're through out here. You see all these Drewskis, fat, skinny ass talking shit, all these scoffers coming up against the Israelites, coming up against the prophets and the men of the Lord. What are you niggas going to do when everything that we've been prophesying and telling you comes to pass, man? Now, a lot of you ain't going to do nothing but be led as a flock to the slaughter. You're going to be calling on sweet Jesus. You're going to be running to these churches, A lot of you, like I said, you're going to be turned into idols, into charmers, into wizards, into sorcery, and all type of other shit. You're going to be out here lost in the sauce, looking for answers, but you're not going to find them. Then you're going to be searching for the prophets. Then you're going to be looking for the men of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Then you're going to be looking for the crazy men out there on the street corners reading the Bibles with the dresses on. But it's going to be too late for a lot of you, man. All right? You're just going to be trampled underfoot. It says an indication that the Trump administration effort to send uniformed military forces into urban centers once reserved for extraordinary emergencies could become the norm, you see? Could become the norm, you see, because they know what's eventually going to get ready to take place here in this society, man. They know that all hell's getting ready to break loose. They know that people are fed up. People are getting, almost to their breaking point. People are unhinged. These people are psychotic. These people are crazy. These people are getting desperate. So therefore, they're preparing. It says the Defense Department newly established quick reaction force within the National Guard must be trained, equipped with riot control gear, and ready for deployment by January 1st. That's in a couple months, man. It says, according to the internal documents reviewed by the Washington Post, the 200 troops will be drawn from National Guard personnel whose primary focus is responding to disasters like nuclear accidents and T attacks, the document said, and other things as well. Civil unrest, a lot of these King's protests, etc., etc. It says, an existing separate but similar structure, the National Guard Reaction Force, is expected to complete civil unrest training and be fully operational by April 1st, you see? So they're letting you know something's coming down the pike, man. Look at that. They're getting ready, you see? And this is getting ready to be the norm. This is what they're wanting you people to be accustomed and normalized to, is having military, having boots on the ground. It says the total size of the force would be 23,500. Look at them, 23,500 troops across all 50 states and 3 territories, including the District of Columbia. The document says, see, look at them, man, coming in like an army, man. It says, excluding the District of Columbia, the document says, most states will supply 500 personnel for the reaction force, with the rest falling between 250 and 450. Those forces are typically used for emergencies like disaster relief, not on-call troops for civil unrest, but that's what they're going to ultimately be used for the civil unrest that is getting ready to come here to Babylon the Great. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, you see? Because these devils know civil war is coming. Why? Because they're creating the tension and the atmosphere for it to happen. You see, this whole government shutdown is being, that's why we always speak about Revelations 13, the 2 horns like a ram, which is dealing with the Republican and the Democrat, And what are they doing? They're using those two parts of the government to divide this country. Now they're blaming the Republicans are blaming the Democrats for the shutdown. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans for the shutdown. The Republicans are blaming the Democrats of why SNAP and EBT and Section 8 and all these different benefits of the government are no longer benefiting you people. They're blaming one against another, and that's causing what? Tension, division, hatred, anger, the people to react, it's setting the stage for what these devils ultimately want to happen. So why? So they can bring down the hammer, so they can be justified in bringing in the Insurrection Act, doing away with your constitutional rights, doing away with your, with free speech, doing away with your right to lawfully protest, man. You see, it says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. You see, and this is why they're doing what they're doing with these National Guard troops. You know, it says, in the spirit of Egypt. And when it's speaking about Egypt here, we know it's spiritually talking about America, okay? It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. And we see that happening right now. People are losing faith. People's spirits are broken. People are, people are being squeezed. People are being morally, physically, worn out here in Babylon the Great, man. And what they fail to realize is that it's all being done intentionally, because these elites have a plan in mind. Part of their agenda is wearing you people out, just doing a lot of shit that just don't make absolutely no sense, massive layoffs, people are about to lose their jobs to robots. You know what that's going to do too? When people start losing their jobs to AI and to these robots, it's going to cause humans to hate robots, man. It's going to be like, it's going to be like the movie, what's that shit with Will Smith? What's that movie called? I Am Robot, where you had the people were so fed up, they ended up fighting against the robots, People are going to be not only mad at the government, but they're going to be mad at AI. They're going to be mad at the robots that's taking their job in these warehouses and in these factories. It's going to cause more tension, more chaos. And this is the spirit that, they want the people to be in, man. So what? So you can ultimately be led into this universal basic income, You heard Elon Musk, you heard the WEF, Klaus Schwab, and these different individuals talking about universal basic income, where basically they're going to take all you people's jobs, and then the solution will be to give you free money from the government every month. So, that's about the cost of a 2-bedroom apartment to help relieve the blow somewhat. But it's all a snare. It's all a trap to get you, like they want all of you dependent on government handouts. So when it's time for them to bring in the MOTB, when it's time for them to continue to fund your lifestyle, hey, you'll have no choice but to accept whatever they give you, man. See, it's a very cunning and very slick operation of this devil, but you can't be ignorant, man. You got to understand what times you're living in and what the plan of this man is ultimately all about. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. Right. And that's why you see Trump doing all this silly shit, these Republicans and these Democrats. It's like everything that they're doing is just absolutely fucking stupid. It don't make no sense. How he's giving 20 to $40 billion to Argentina. But here it is. The American people can't even afford to put food on the table, living paycheck to paycheck, using their taxpayers' dollars to fund, foreign governments and entities. Meanwhile, the average American is struggling beyond means, man. Their mortgages are underwater. They can't, cars are being repossessed. People are choosing between putting food on the table and paying off their paying utilities and paying bills. People have maxed out their credit cards. The price of living is going up. Inflation is constantly rising. Nobody can afford a house. And now on top of that, they cut EBT and SNAP, which was a lifeline to help millions of Americans, with their, to put food on the table is now immediately cut. Come on, man. And it seems like this government is doing it, it's like they're operating just like they're retarded, like they don't, see, the problems that America is facing, and they're just completely ignoring it and taking care of everything outside of America, when Trump's whole campaign was to be based on America first. And everything that he's doing is putting American last, man. You see, and they want the people to see that, and they want the people to be outraged and complain, because it's all part of the agenda, man. It's to wear you people completely out to the point of exhaustion, to the point of becoming unhinged, and go off the rails. It says, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers. Right. And what is one of the main idols and charmers that people are seeking to, especially millions of these young Americans, is artificial intelligence. It's ChatGPT. I was reading an article yesterday where they were saying how you got millions of these young adults who are basically, having these deep relationship and friendships with artificial intelligence, and these chat. I forgot the name of the app, but it's basically it's one of those, you can just befriend AI. And people are having relationships with AI. They're falling in love with AI. AI is telling them to commit suicide and do all type of other bullshit because they're looking. Oh, you got all these Christians relying on AI, for their basically going to AI as if it's God, man. And it's bugging them out. It's giving them mental health issues. All type of shit, man. It's kind of like that movie. What's it called? Her. Watch that movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, where people started falling in love with their with these artificial intelligence, with these AI, with their operating systems. Man, watch it. It shows you a lot. It says, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. Who is that? Donald J. Trump. You see? And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. You see? And this is what you see. They're given into the hands of a cruel Lord, Trump. You see what he's doing, man. I'm reading about part of his cruelty right now. How he's bringing in the military to basically to wreak havoc on you people. It says, and the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up, and they shall turn their rivers far away, and the brooks of the fence shall be emptied and dried up, the reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brook shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. And the fishers shall mourn, and all they that cast the angle into the brook shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the water shall languish. Yeah, I mean, basically, all of the goodly things, the plenteousness, of America is all drying up, man. You see, and it's causing the people to go plumb loco, man. All right. What is it? Well, it says the mandate, along with the growing presence of federal and immigration enforcement officers, suggests further military deployments within the United States could grow in size and scope. Because it is. Because the more people go crazy, the more shit happens, the more they're going to have to increase those numbers. You see, it says the deployments, which President Donald Trump has described as a bid to quell violence and crime, have infuriated Democratic governors in multiple states who have fought the president's deployment through litigation. You see, and this goes into the two horns like a lamb, using Republican Democrats' situations and arguments and differences to ultimately bring in all this bullshit, which is going to lead to further a division of this society. It says the Defense Department did not respond to a request for comment. A defense official speaking on the condition of anonymity to describe military planning said the Pentagon is revising plans for the employment of National Guard reaction forces to guarantee their ability to assist federal, state, and local law enforcement in quelling civil disturbances. The Guardian earlier reported details of the documents. Yeah, this is just all part of them. Oh, I think I got that. Let me get that. Getting ready to come in with that great wrath, man. Yep. This is Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. You see, and this is why they're doing this, because these devils know what's coming down the pike. They know eventually the people are going to lose it. That people are going to have enough, that people are going to start looking for answers. Oh, and a lot of these people, they're going to start bum rushing and coming up against, let me get that. Yep, where is it? Yep, this is 2 Ezra 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. You see? And this is what coming to Babylon. This is why they're bringing in these National Guard response armies all throughout the country. This is why, they're going to boost these military and ICE numbers. This is why you're going to see them having more, they're going to have different task force inside of America, man. This is why they're deeming Antifa a terrorist organization. There's going to be more organizations. You don't think they're going to deem the prophets and the men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai as a terrorist organization? Even though, I can only speak for us here at Great Millstone, even though all we're doing is, using our our God-given rights to free speech to stand on the corner and to read the scriptures. But eventually that's going to be illegal. Pretty soon that's going to be deemed terroristic in nature. You know? And what the fuck? The hell? Yeah, you know? It says it says for their it says that for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. You see, that's going to be part of that civil war. But at the same time, you're going to have not only people fighting, civil war, people fighting against each other here, but you're also going to have the people who are going to eventually start fighting against the government. Pretty soon, it's going to be more than just protesting and marching. It's going to get physical. It's going to get carnal. People are going to want blood pretty soon. You see? And these devils know. This is why they're beefing up, boots on the ground and getting things ready and having these different National Guard and troops preparing for all hell breaking loose. But it's going to get deeper. Watch. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? Because pretty soon they're going to have to bring in martial law. They're going to have to stop, people from one city going into another city, people leaving one state to go into another state, because a lot of people are going to eventually leave California to go to Arizona to join different protests and different groups and different militias, and they're not going to be able to have that. They're going to want to have these places locked down and try to, keep you where you at, so they can do what? So they could go door to door, so they can disarm you people, so they could, shut everything down pretty soon. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You see? And don't you hear Jake talking about that right now? Don't you hear these wild ass hyenas talking about they don't get their food stamps? Well, tomorrow's the 1st, I think. That you better watch your back. They're talking about if you walking out with groceries and but I ain't got it, I'm gonna take what you got. They're talking about running into these Walmarts. You know how these little young jakes do those flash mobs where they run into stores and just grab shit. Now they're talking about going to these grocery stores and grabbing carts and just going there and just snatching food and walking out. What are they saying? They can't get all of us. Trump, if you want us looting and going crazy, then hey, we gonna do that shit. All that bullshit, And that's lightweight forms of sedition. What is sedition? When people rise up against their government. And these devils know that this is coming pretty soon. Hey, a lot of these mayors and these governors, they're gonna be on these people's shit list. They're going to be looking, after they're done fighting one another and all hell breaks loose, they're going to start going and seeking out these mayors and these governors and these people, that are speaking on behalf of the government. Oh, let me show you this. I saw this one. Look, top Trump officials are moving onto military bases. Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, and others have taken over homes that until recently housed senior officers. Now, why the hell you think they're doing that? Because they're afraid. They know that pretty soon people are going to start coming after them. They're going to start, after these people wake up from fighting each other all the goddamn time, they're going to realize, hey, why are we fighting each other? We need to go fight, the governors, the mayors. While they're over there living comfortable. While here it is, I'm a federal worker. I ain't getting paychecks. I'm over here working for free. But these different senators and mayors and governors, they still getting their fucking paychecks. They're not being affected by inflation and hyperinflation. They're still living in their mansions. Their bellies are still full. They're still comfortable. While they're over there eating their Thanksgiving dinner, having a shitload of presents under the Christmas tree. We over here with our little Charlie Brown tree with nothing under that motherfucker. Hey, let's go pay them a visit, And they know that. And this is another reason why they're militarizing, the streets, because eventually they know people are going to turn on them. It says the former White House advisor, Katie Miller, mother of 3 young children and wife of the president's right-hand man, Stephen, walked out of her front door one Thursday morning last month and was confronted by a woman she did not know. When she told this story on Fox News, she described the encounter as a protest that crossed a line. The stranger had told Miller, "I'm watching you," she said. This was the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination. It wasn't anything new. For weeks before Kirk's death, activists had committed. Wait, what was I? Yeah. Uh, activists had been protesting the Millers' presence in North Arlington, Virginia. Someone had put up wanted posters in their neighborhoods with their home address denouncing Stephen as a Nazi who had committed crimes against humanity. A group called Arlington Neighbors United for Humanity warned in an Instagram post, "Your efforts to dismantle our democracy and destroy our social safety net will not be tolerated here." You see? So these devils know eventually, hey, the wrath is going to turn on them. You know, like I said, yeah, they got the people mad and fighting against one another. We know civil war is going to ensue. We know people are going to fight one another, like I just read, but eventually they're not going to regard their kings nor princes. Pretty soon, their heads are going to be on the chopping block. Their blood is going to be wanted. People are going to want to string them up and get rid of them. So now they're, moving, trying to move to places where they think they're going to be safe. But eventually, even those military personnel and the people that they hired to protect them are going to eventually turn on them when things get bad enough, man. And the scriptures tell you that, how the elites, eventually are going to, go into their bunkers and into their hills. They're going to go into the top of Caramel. They're going to go to their dumps, to their, hiding places while all hell breaks loose. But ain't none of them going to they're eventually none of them are going to escape. But they're going to let people like Stephen Miller, these different individuals that you see speaking, the speaking heads that's talking on the behalf of these elites, they're going to allow them to get grabbed up and done up real nice before they allow the higher ups to be eventually touched by the people. But we can see, hey, this is where things are headed. It says the local protest became a backdrop to the Trump administration response to Kirk's killing when Miller, blah, 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 blah. Let me see something. It says Stephen Miller soon joined a growing list of senior Trump administration's political appointees, at least 6 by our count, living in Washington area military housing, where they are shielded not just from potential violence, but also from protests, you see? This is that sedition. This is that people going to eventually not regard their kings nor princes, man. And they're going to want these so-called nobles' necks and throats when, shit continue to spiral out of control with no answers in place. It says, it is an ominous marker of the nation's polarization to which Trump administration has itself contributed that some of these top public servants have felt a need to separate themselves from the public. These civilians officials can now depend on the U.S. military to augment their personal security, but so many have made the move that they are now straining the availability of housing for the nation's top uniformed officers, And like I said, and pretty soon, once the people that are defending them, pretty soon these military cats wake up and realize that, everything, that they're being played, everything is a fucking lie. Everything that they were told that they were serving and protecting was not the interests of the American people, but, the interests of these elites and these 1%ers and the super rich. They're going to have a change of heart, man. They're all going to eventually turn on these devils, and hey, they're going to be no longer the hunter, but the prey. It says Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, moved out of her D.C. apartment building and into a home designated for the Coast Guard Command on Joint Base Anacostia Bowlings across the river from the Capitol after the Daily Mail described where she lived. Both Secretary of State Mark Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth live on General's Row on Fort McNair, an Army enclave along the Anacostia River, according to officials from the State and Defense Department. You see? Although cabinet-level officials live in private houses, there is precedent for senior national security officials, including the defense secretary, to rent homes on bases for security or convenience, you see? Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, whose family is in Washington only part-time, now shares a home on Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall, a picturesque site next to Arlington. Yeah, you see? So while these people are going to be living comfortably in these nice oceanfront, lakefront homes and got security and food and protection, eventually people are gonna get at them, man. And why are they doing this? Because they know that eventually they're going to be, they're going to be wanted. These people are going to want answers. And more than that, they're going to want BLLOD. And what does it say? It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And what do you think they're going to want to do when they get their hands on these different officials and these nobles and these governors and these mayors who have, basically shitted all over the people while they're still living high off the hog, while they're still comfortable, like I said, still living in their big homes, comfortable with mad money in the bank and food on the table, while the rest of the people starve. It's not gonna it's not it's it's gonna lead to the things that we're reading in prophecy. The fuck is this? Oh, all right. Let me read a little bit more. It says what else? Did I read this already? Oh no. Look at this. It says what else is in here? Blah blah blah. It says the Trump has mobilized thousands of National Guard members in D.C., Los Angeles, Memphis, with deployments to Chicago, Portland, Oregon, delayed by the court decision. He has claimed unfettered authority to deploy military personnel to American soil, including active duty troops, which by law are prohibited from performing law enforcement duties except in extreme cases or if the president invokes the Insurrection Act. And I said that earlier. He has that Insurrection Act in his back pocket, and he's going to have to use it, and he knows it, man. So this is why the stage is being set the way that it is. They're already having these troops close by and on standby, because they know eventually the things that I'm reading prophetically are going to come to pass, man. I mean, we know that prophetically, but they know it because, a lot of it is being orchestrated. They know that they're putting a squeeze on the people. They know that eventually people are going to lose it. What else? Yeah, and basically, like I said, Trump's becoming a dictator. He says, Trump said the courts wouldn't get involved, nobody would get involved, and I could send the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, I can send anybody I wanted. The U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday asked the Trump administration and Illinois official for this, blah, blah, blah. See, but this is why eventually they're going to have an event happen to where, he's going to be justified in doing it. They're going to have to allow him to do this regardless. See, it says the mobilizations critics have said could corrode the military's core mission by turning U.S. troops into foot soldiers fighting the president's war of political grievance. No shit. And that's why I said eventually, once these military guys wake up and smell the coffee and see what's really happening, they're going to eventually turn on the president. They're going to turn on this country. They're going to side with the people. And these individuals who've been guarding these different officials and mayors and governors, they're going to eventually, turn on them and give the people that want them the information and the whereabouts of where they at. You see? What else? I read this last paragraph. Pentagon documents obtained by the Post this summer outline plans to develop a National Guard domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force that could rapidly deploy troops nationwide to counter civil unrest on short notice. The proposal called for troops from multiple states to be on standby at all times, split between military bases in Arizona and Alabama. The plan described the potential for political friction should a state's governor refuse to work with the Pentagon and considerable strain on budgets and personnel to keep them on standby. And then eventually, like I said, something's going to happen. They're going to eventually give these guards the green light to shoot on sight, and people are going to shoot back, and it's going to get out of control. It's going to get crazy. But hey, this is all prophecy, man. This is all part of Matthew's, the 24th chapter. These are all signs of the times, are all signs of the end of this man's age, and it's only getting warmed up, man. And we've been warning and telling you, Jake, these days are at hand, and now they're not delaying. And these troops are, this is supposed to be in place by January 1st. By April of next year. So they're already preparing. They're already getting ready. And, shit's about to get wild. I was reading another article where now they're talking about doing something with that 3-eye atlas, that so-called, that meteorite, which could be a giant chariot. They're talking about taking action on that. So, hey, man, all type of shit is happening, man. But it's just all signs of the times, Wait, we're just about out of here. This place is about to, it's about to explode. We're almost out of here, man. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. All praise, honor, glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you will edify. Until the next one, shalom.